Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Press Box Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, February 26, 2025, and the Philadelphia Eagles are still Super Bowl champions. Welcome to the Philly Press Box Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Ivers Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the STT Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. Chet, spring training is underway for the Phillies. I already have one game under my belt. The Flyers are back in action after the tremendous Four Nations face-off tournament. Long way to go. 2 nice wins coming out of the break. The NFL Combine is this weekend, Indy. There's no rest for Howie Roseman and his staff. And yes, Chet, there are the Sixers. They stink, and we will talk about it. We are loaded up with plenty of Philly sports tonight.
Well, NFL football is pretty much a year-round thing in terms of, the combine, free agency, mock drafts, the actual draft, OTAs, etc. Before you know it, it'll be July and training camps will be open. But yeah, in the meantime, we do have the Phillies season to look forward to. We have the Flyers with those back-to-back big victories, 6 goals in each game. How about that?
Yep.
And yeah, unfortunately, the big downer, the 76ers, who, man, we would like to 86 the 76ers.
Yeah, give us time. We're getting close, I think. Hey, but we have a couple great guests tonight in Proper. BRIAN PROPP makes another return visit to Philly Press Box Radio. And a first-timer that's associated with Proper, Dr. A. Tell us about her.
Well, Dr. A, full name, Dr. Zahra Afsharzand, is a Cherry Hill dentist, and Proper happens to be one of her patients as he was treated by her office for, snoring, with a nice 3-visit non-surgical procedure that a few dentists are now offering. So we will meet her and get the scoop on that as part of our interview with the Proper. I bet you're a snorer, Bill.
A little bit. A little bit.
I have to ask Mary about that one.
Yeah, she might say a lot of bit. I'm going with a little bit. I can't tell.
Oh, we got a message here from our bosses at the STT Sports Network. Smash that like and subscribe button. It is free to do. You'll be glad you did, everybody.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Chet, you know what? We got a lot to talk about tonight, so let's get this off our chest so we can talk real Philly sports. What the heck with the Sixers? Down 50 the other night during that Bulls massacre Monday. They're an embarrassment. I got nothing else to say, at least for now, so time's yours.
Bill, let me have the floor for a minute, okay?
Go ahead.
All right. Bill, you and I have had our share of disagreements over the years about the 76ers, but there's no disagreement right here. Not only are the Sixers an embarrassment, they're a friggin' disgrace. I mean, they've had injuries, sure. A lot of teams have had injuries, but their issues clearly go way beyond that. Even when semi-healthy, they failed to compete way too often. They often look disinterested. They're dead last in the league in rebounds, the only team grabbing fewer than 40 per game. And rebounding is largely something tied to desire, I think, or want to. And the Sixers just don't have that want to, in my opinion. February 7th, the day after the trade deadline, Daryl Morey reappeared from his long winter hibernation and gave us that famous quote, "Our goal is to fight for the playoffs. We are just focused on the championship. I know you might have to squint a little, but we feel this group can do that." Really? Really? The Sixers haven't won a game since February 7th. They've lost 7 in a row since then, 8 in a row overall. And somehow they're still only 2.5 games out of the 10th spot in the East that would put them in the play-in round. As you said, Bill, though, they got destroyed the other night by the team that is currently in the 10th spot, the Chicago Bulls, in Philly at the Wells Fargo Center. They were down by 50 points at one point, cut it to 32 when it really didn't matter. I know Joel Embiid wasn't there. He's out yet again. He could well be done for the year. There's a lot of discussion about surgical options and whatnot. Paul George, with his little pinky issue, has missed some time. He's back in, but he has sucked much of the time. Man, what a guy stealing money he is. Let's see. Nick Nurse looks like he wants to cry at most of his post-game pressers. I don't blame him. Right now, the Sixers are just unwatchable most nights. And it's just a shame in terms of, this being a once proud franchise, no longer. As we remember from the movie Network, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. Bill, your thoughts?
Well, you could have got a $2 ticket, gone down there to see him the other night, lose by 50 or be down.
I know.
I guess, I've never been on this bandwagon. I haven't thought they've been good for a while. But I guess, where do you start? Where's the problem? And if you got to fix this somehow, where do you start? Who do you get rid of? And I don't really know the answer. Is it the GM? Is it the coach? Is it Embiid? Or where?
Yeah, I don't know either, Bill. People who said we should have traded Embiid 2 years ago, but he was still relatively healthy, even though he always seemed to get hurt playoff time. Maybe they're right. Maybe they should have traded him back then, because now he has virtually no trade value, and they're stuck with him. They signed him to that 3-year, $193 million contract extension that they announced in September, which was totally friggin' ridiculous. I mean, we saw in the Olympics he wasn't totally healthy. They knew he had the knee issue. They thought they could manage it. Well, guess what? They're not managing it very well. And now they don't know if surgery even is going to fix it, because they're not sure what surgery would be the appropriate one. Paul George, they signed him to a 4-year max deal at age 34. I admit I liked the signing at the time, not the money, of course, but the fact that they brought him in, because there were no other options out there, and bringing him in and, giving the team a big 3 seemed like the right thing to do, but he has been a major, major disappointment. And I feel badly for Tyrese Maxey, who most nights goes out there and plays hard. Even he looks like he didn't play hard the other night, didn't shoot well. He was questionable going into the game. I don't know if they're tanking on purpose or they just don't care anymore, the players I'm talking about, but it's just a horrible situation. I don't know where to go from here. I got to think Nick Nurse will not be coming back next year. Probably doesn't want to be coming back at this point. Embiid's future, a big question mark. And right now they are the 6th worst team in the league, which is where they want to be, because they would have to finish in the bottom 6 to get a first-round draft pick. Anything higher in terms of where they stood in the standings, they would not get a first-round draft pick. So they got to be in that first 6, which is protected. But then you get into the lottery situation, and they're still not guaranteed, even if they have the 5th or 6th worst record, depending on how the lottery balls fall, that they're going to get one of those top 6 spots. So it's just a mess right now, Bill. I don't know where to go. No idea.
Yeah, I don't either. And I want to know who the doctor is that cleared Embiid, because he was never healthy. Coming into this long-term contract extension, he was never.
I think it was
healthy.
Dr. Bombay from the old Bewitched series.
Maybe. I don't know, Chet. They're unwatchable. I won't be watching them. I had trouble watching them even when they were playing halfway decent. They're out as far as I am concerned, but happy. We have Dr. A on later. Dr. Bill, just let you lay on the sofa and get that off your mind.
Thank you. But you mentioned the $2 tickets. I couldn't find the graphic. I put a graphic in the system and it's gone. I don't know how that happens, but yeah, there were $2 tickets also for Monday night's game when the Trailblazers are in town. Now, Saturday night, the Golden State Warriors are in town. You can get tickets still for like $55, which is also a bargain, but they're that high because Steph Curry's on
and
the
wait
Warriors.
until you buy $50 tickets and Steph doesn't play.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because
and by the way, even if you buy one of those,
NBA.
Even if you buy one of those cheap tickets, the $2 tickets for Monday night, you'll get hit with surcharges from StubHub. But still, it's a lot cheaper than buying a $100 or $150 ticket that it would normally be.
What are the chances Steph Curry doesn't dress out for that game against these bums?
I have no idea. I will not be watching. I'll tell you that.
No, I hear you. Hey, I am glad we're done with that. We will have no more of it, at least unless D comes on. We always talk to D. Other than that, we're done with them. Let's talk Phillies. How about that?
All right.
They opened spring training a mile from my house in Lakeland on Saturday. I didn't go. But I did drive 35 miles the next day on Sunday to go to the home opener. And it happened to be Williamson Trade School Alumni Day at the stadium. Who knew, right? And it was a beautiful day, a beautiful Sunday afternoon of baseball. It's time to get this Philly season going.
I did catch some of the games Sunday on TV. Always cool to watch Phillies baseball for that, very first time in late February every year. Not a great game, maybe, other than the mammoth home runs by a couple of Phillies prospects, Arroyo and Rincones. That Rincones dude hit another one today, by the way. He could be, a good prospect. I know it's always great to get to the ballpark in Clearwater. I'll be there next month. So you did meet up with a bunch of old friends. I don't think it was an official Williamson Trade School day.
No, it was.
It really was.
Yeah, it really was. They had an event. They had an event on Saturday night in Tampa, which I couldn't go to. But it was Williamson Day. It basically, I'll go ahead and say it. Everything was free. It was all paid for. So yeah, I ended up being able to get. Yeah, I ended up getting a couple tickets from them late, and they had a little buffet deal there in the picnic area, and a cooler full of beverages, and
nice.
It was a good day.
All right. So what do you think about, we talked a bit about this last week, the Phillies lineup. I know they started to bring it out, I guess, yesterday, maybe, with Trey Turner leading off and Bryce hitting second.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I want to give it a try. I mean, they can't go back and just rinse and replay. They got to do something a little bit different. Schwarber seems on board. Everything I've seen and read about him says, hey, I'm number 12. I'm not number 1. I'm number 12. Wherever they put me in the lineup, number 12 will hit. So I like that attitude. I like that lineup. No, obviously don't know a whole lot about Kepler yet, but that's a pretty good lineup, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And Bryson Stott, I think, is going to have a much better year this year. We found out, over the winter that he was banged up much of last year with some injuries that we didn't even know about. So I think Stott is going to be much better. Hopefully Bohm can have the kind of full season that we thought he was going to have last year. He had a great first half, became an all-star, and then really, tailed off, unfortunately, when it mattered. And that's always the worry with this Phillies team. They seem to, lose a bit of the luster in September and October, which is the absolute worst time to have that happen.
Yeah, well, and I think – and maybe with the lineup change, and it's going to create a different approach at the plate. We talked about this last year and even the year before. They got to get rid of the home run mentality. They got to get guys on base. They got to drive in runs. And if you're not swinging for the fences all the time, you got less chance of getting in these giant slumps that these guys get in. And when they get in slumps, they get in 3 or 4, 5 guys at a time. They need guys to drive balls in the gap and score runs and do it one at a time rather than hitting bombs all the time and then losing.
Yeah, and I'm also pretty excited about the starting rotation, which, as we heard from both Jason Stark and Todd Zalecki, may well be the very best in baseball, right up there with the Dodgers, and maybe even better. They're both very optimistic about Luzardo, the new acquisition from the Miami Marlins. And I didn't see the game, but Christopher Sanchez, I heard, looked terrific yesterday. He looks like he's in amazing shape, and he threw really well yesterday. So that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. And, I want to see at what point they go to the young kids. If they bring Painter up, get him some work, when that's going to happen. I think if Painter comes up, if he ends up being the guy, and does well, now you have a trade piece possibly with Suarez, who sounds like they might have wanted to move him a little bit anyway. I think he pitched good, unless that arm went dead, and that we saw last year when he couldn't break a pane of glass there at the last month of the season after the injury. So we'll see how it goes. But on paper, man, that's a good looking starting rotation. Still not comfortable with the bullpen.
Rangers is going to be interesting to watch because, as you said, he started off great last year, amazing, and then he had a horrible second half. And he's now a Scott Boras client. It's a contract year, so he's going to be looking for some big money. So, yeah, that is going to be something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, big thing with him, I think, is he healthy? If he's healthy,
right,
he'll be fine. He's a good pitcher, but I think he definitely ran into some health issues. The other thing I want to see is JT Realmuto. It's getting to be time with him. Contract is due coming up, I think, one more year. I think this is a contract year for him as well.
It is.
And he's getting up there in age, and he's probably going to want another 5 years. I'm not sure I'm ready to go there yet. We got to see some improvement from him.
Yeah, I'm definitely not looking to go there. Maybe a short-term contract, like a 2-year deal, but I'm not going to give him 4 or 5 years. That's what he's going to want. Of course, who wouldn't want that? But, maybe 2 years. I mean, they supposedly like Marchand, the backup catcher, in addition to Stubbs. So, let him get some more playing time. They're talking about giving JT more time off this year. They were even talking about working him out in the outfield, maybe giving him a little time in left field. So who knows? But DH him once in a while, give him some more days off, and maybe you will have a healthy full year out of JT.
Yeah, and the other one I want to see, because no one's talked about him, and they claim he had a fantastic winter ball season, is Rojas. I don't know if the plan is to platoon him out there in center with Marsh. We kept seeing that lineup with Kepler in left and Marsh in center. And I said this a long time ago too. I didn't think Rojas was really ready, but now he's got a couple years under his belt, and maybe he is ready to step in there and play maybe more every day and hit big league pitching. It's time for him to let's see what he can do.
Yeah, a lot of people soured on Rojas, but I mean, he's still young. He's got great speed. He's a great fielder. So yeah, I would love to see them give him a little bit more of an opportunity. He can run. Marsh can run. Trey Turner, who stole 33 bases, I think 2 years ago, only 19 last year because of the injury that kept him out for a while. They can all run. So I would like to see them steal more bases this year.
And Stott.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe mix in a little hit and run, Bill, like old school,
There you go. But then we can't go without talking about the bullpen. I just don't know how this is going to pan out. On paper, I don't think they're better than they were last year at this point. And losing games early while you're trying to figure things out are still losses. They still count. And you can't be blowing games in late innings because you're trying to figure out who your 7th inning guy is, 8th inning guy, and 9th inning guys are. You gotta have something. And Rob Thompson hasn't been great at that. He's like to put guys in every which spot.
Well, I know they're very high on Kerkering. They like the new guy, obviously, that they got, Jordan Romano. You never know what you're going to get with the lefty, the hard-throwing lefty. Whose name escapes me all of a sudden.
Yeah, the one with the long hair?
Yeah. No, not the one with the long hair. The other guy, the veteran. Alvarado.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're going to get out of him. He's going to get lit up.
Sometimes, but other times he looks great. So
Matt Strom.
Matt Strom, the other lefty with the long hair. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
we'll see.
The bullpen will certainly be something to keep an eye on.
And looking forward to a big Bryce Harper year. I think it's time.
Yeah, and by the way, he escaped a little injury today. Apparently, he got a bruise on his tricep. They said it seems to be okay and shouldn't be anything to worry about. So that was good.
Yeah, and Robbie and PJ just both put up comments because this was going to be my last comment. Stubbs can't be your everyday catcher, and PJ says Marchand is the next catcher supposedly. And
exactly,
I think we got a roster decision that's going to have to be made here. You can't hold Marchand back if he's ready. They got to bring him up, and then maybe play him more. I agree with Robbie. Stubbs isn't that answer.
Yeah, just bring Stubbs up when it's time to plan the clubhouse parties because he's good at that.
We'll let him. I hope we have an opportunity for many parties.
Yeah,
we'll see.
With you.
All right, Chet. Let's jump over and say this. Philly Press Box Radio is now part of the STT Sports Network, as in Set the Trends. It's a network set up of our pal Phil Stiefel, host of the terrific Trending in the AM show that you can find every weekday morning on the STT Network's YouTube channel. Check out Phil and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Phil's show is on there, so is ours. Yep, you can find Philly Press Box Radio there in addition to on our own YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. Again, it's the STT Sports Network, setting the trends for what sports talk should be. Phil does a great job.
He
Chet,
is indeed.
tell us what's going on at the Irish Rover Station House.
The Irish Rover Station House, Bill. Good times always on the menu at the Rover in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. You know the drill. Always 24 beers on tap, served up by the Rover's terrific bartenders, and a full menu of delicious food choices. Check out these weekly specials. Tuesday, a meatloaf dinner for $11.95. Wow. Wednesdays are not only trivia nights, but a night you can get a prime rib dinner for $19.95. Also, the Rover's signature martini for $5. What else? Well, let's see. How about this? Thursdays. Well, they bring a couple of different killer burgers from which to choose. And in the evening Thursday, then $9 wings and a $5 giant Stella pour. What else? Well, dinner specials Thursday through Sunday. Happy hour deals Monday through Friday. Live music Saturday night and Sunday, a $5 Sunday Fun Day menu. Next week, then, Bill, you know this. It is St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. And ahead of that, well, the Rover will be partying the entire week before that. I'll tell you about the many things going on at the Rover in connection with St. Patty's Day on our next couple of shows. The Irish Rover Station House is on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne and on the web at irishroverstationhouse.com. Oh, hang on, Bill. I got a little promo here to play for us, if I can find it. Here we go.
Propp gets it up through on the near side, the Poulin. Broken up and then taken by Propp. Through into the zone. He's on a breakaway. Look out, short-handed, score! 3 short-handed goals and a hat trick for Brian Propp. Holy cow!
Hi, I'm Brian Propp, former Flyer. I'm on with Chet and Bill on Philly Press Box Radio. Guffaw!
The proper.
Awesome. Hey,
Had to
before
get a
we
good
move
fall.
on, that is cool. Hey, before we move on, Ms. Stifle has a comment for us, Chet.
Melissa Stifle.
Yeah, she must not. I don't know if that's a compliment or not to Phil. We'll have to check in with Melissa and get a little more information on what she means there. What do you think?
Phil is a fine-looking man. Tell Melissa, she can send us in a great picture of Phil if she would like, and we will use that one.
Maybe spinning a pizza or two.
There you go. Oh,
There you
don't mention pizza. I'm starving, man.
Yeah.
Haven't had dinner yet tonight.
I hear you. Well, hey, you had a chance to visit with our good friend Flyers great Brian Propp to talk Flyers and the no kidding All-Star break. The Four Nations face-off tournament, Chet, was fantastic. Made a lot of hockey fans. Highest rated hockey game ever on ESPN. And a nice visit from Dr. A with some important information for many of us.
Well, this is Propper's 6th visit to Philly Press Box Radio. His first was way back in the summer of 2015, just 3 weeks before he suffered that devastating stroke that has taken him years to recover from. He says, though, he is now about 90% of the way back, and that is great to hear. We talked about that situation, of course. We talked about the current Flyers, and yes, his snoring issue that Dr. A helped him with, and much, much more. Here is my chat with the Propper.
Gets it up through on the near side, the Poulin. Broken up and then taken by Propp. Through into the zone. He's on a breakaway. Look out, short-handed, score! 3 short-handed goals and a hat trick for Brian Propp.
We love talking hockey with this former Philadelphia Flyer every year or two. He is the franchise's 2nd all-time leading goal scorer, and he's 4th all-time in points. It's the great Brian Propp. Hey, Propper, how are you?
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Great to see you. First thing, it was nearly 2 years ago, May of 2023, that the Flyers named Keith Jones, the team's president, and lifted the interim tag from Danny Briere, officially making him general manager. The team finished with 87 points last year and missed the playoffs and are currently on pace to finish actually a little worse this time around and again miss the playoffs. So should we still have faith in Jonesy and Briere to get this franchise turned around?
Yes, definitely, because they did a really good job changing it up with a couple of years ago. I know, unfortunately, last year they lost 7 at the end of the year. Otherwise, they might have got in the playoffs, and then like Washington got in last year. But you know, they're just trying to figure out a way to do. They need a little more scoring. But you know, the young guys, and so they're exciting to watch.
Well, one guy who's really brought a lot of excitement for Flyers fans this year is Matvei Mishkov. As of Sunday, he was tied with Macklin Celebrini for the NHL lead in goals among rookies with 17 and third in points. What's your impression of this 20-year-old Russian?
Yeah. He has to learn because it's more games than he's used to. He has to get used to be more consistent, and it's tough because he doesn't speak English too well, so the coaches might have a little trouble with that. But there's other couple of Russians on the team that can help him. But I think it's for first year, it's different because it's a long season, and so he's still learning.
Well, Travis Konechny is having another good year. Owen Tippett, not bad. But yeah, does the team have enough guys who can score, as you said? Probably not.
Yeah, but they have to play good defense. But I like the way that they play because, like, like the team is much faster and they force all the time. They make some mistakes, but they're tough to play against. And so as long as they do that, I know that all the better teams in the NHL force all the time, and they're tough to play against. And so that's what the Flyers did the last couple of years. So I'm just I'm loving what they're doing. They're in their own end most of the time, and so that makes a difference too. They got more opportunities, but they just need somebody to snipe a little bit more.
Well, due to legal issues, the Flyers and goalie Carter Hart parted ways in early 2024. Is Sam Ersson a possible franchise goalie, or does that search for a great goaltender need to continue?
I think he's doing a really good job because the other two goalies, they're kind of young and unexperienced, and so it just makes a difference. But Allison's been a really good goalie and consistent. He doesn't give up too much. He's had a couple of shutouts, and so I like the way that they're putting him in the right way.
Well, Brian, it was nearly 10 years ago, this Labor Day weekend, in fact, since you suffered that devastating stroke. I know it's been a long road back. Heck, you had to relearn how to walk and talk. And last fall, with the help of Wayne Fish, you put out the book, Angel on My Wing. Now, I know there's some hockey talk in there, but also lots about that massive stroke and your recovery. Tell us about the book.
Yeah, so a lot of it is about my faith because my dad was a Lutheran minister. We grew up in a little town of 300 people called Neudorf. My dad preached in English and German every Sunday, and I have two brothers and two sisters, all 13 months apart, so that's why we had our own hockey team. And so, just easy in Saskatchewan, he just played hockey and went to school, and a simple life, no phones, no TV, only had two channels, and of course, and then I did pretty good when I was young, 15, 16, and 17, and I made it to the Flyers in 79, 80, and but my dad taught me how to play the right way. But it's a lot about the faith and a little bit of hockey, about my stroke and how I recovered from my stroke. There's lots of things on my book that give them hints to figure out a little different things, how I can do much better.
Well, tell us about that recovery. I mean, we've talked to you every year or so, over these last probably 8 years. We talked to you once before the stroke, and every time you sound a little bit better and better. I know it is a long road, as we said, but do you think you're 85% maybe?
90%, because the only thing that I have is my right fingers on the right side don't work, but I compensate that for, I can still play hockey. This last weekend, I played three games in Florida, a charity golf hockey event, and so it was a little sore, but I still and I play golf every Thursday in Florida, so it just keeps me up. But so like the things that I've been doing, like especially my wife has a franchise called Prime IV Hydration and Wellness in Marlton, and so what I've done is I've done some drips called NA Day drips. Like it's pretty expensive, but you go 4 days in a row for 3.5 hour drips, and then it cleanses your whole system, and then it replaces the cells that you need in your body when you're younger. And so now every 3 months, I just maintain it with a drip for 3 hours, and then I notice that my swelling isn't that well. I'm talking much better. I'm thinking clearly. So that's one thing that I did that really made a difference. But with me, just slowing it down and talking with other people, I don't get confused as much as I used to. I still have aphasia, which means that the words don't come out the same way. But my book talks a lot about how I rehab it. And so like people, when they read it, it gives them hope to get better.
Brian, where can people find this book? Is it available everywhere?
It's on Amazon. It's all over, and then the publishers is in Chicago and in Canada. It's Indigo that they can order from there, but most people Amazon, because it'll get there pretty fast.
Hey, Brian, it's hard to believe it's been 31 years since you last played your last NHL game. How much has the game of hockey changed since the 1980s and early 90s?
Yeah, it's changed a lot because now, like the guys are much faster, the goalies are much bigger, and it's tough to score. You just kind of dump it in and do a little bit different, but it's not as much fun as it used to be. Like we used to drink beer and tell stories and hang out with the people. Now, like I don't know if they're in good shape, but they don't really know what they're missing. The 80s and 90s was fun, but they make more money now, much faster. But still, it's so different because guys can play for 20, 25 years now because they get their points, and then they don't make the playoffs, and they don't get touched as much. It's not as physical until you get into the playoffs.
Yep. Well, you played for some pretty strict coaches during your time with the Flyers in Pat Quinn and Mike Keenan. Great coaches, certainly, but they can wear on players, maybe. Is that happening right now, do you think, with John Tortorella? Well,
it's a young team. And so, I know, I love Mike Keenan when he wanted to win every game, but he's tough on people. But that's how you learn. We had good teams in the 80s, like Mark Howe and Dave Poulin were great leaders, and Bob Clark, of course, great leaders. And so we learned how to control our own team. That way, the coaches didn't have to do too much. It's different because now the coaches are hired to be fired. They're a young team, and so they have to listen. And so that's what I like about what they're doing. Like Jones and Briere are doing a really good job, and the coaches, just leave the coaches alone and let them do their own thing. And even if they don't make the playoffs this year, they'll get a couple of draft picks. I think they've got a lot lined up for this coming year already, 7 or 8, and so that could build a team pretty fast. But it's doing it the right way so that they have a chance in a year or two to get into the finals. Hey, did you watch any of the recent Four Nations face-off, and particularly the 2 USA-Canada games? And what did you think? I wasn't watching the first game, but I heard that there were some fights at the start. Yeah. Which was with old-time hockey and competitive, even though you're playing on the same team. So somehow you get up for it. But it's Canada and US was a great game. I think that they're fast, and it was just the goalies played really well, and it could have gone any way. But having the best player in the world score at the end, he was frustrated throughout most of the game, but he got a chance, and he capped it off with a goal. Hey, Brian, I know you do a lot of stuff for charities. You're involved with a couple of charities, and you got some events coming up this spring. Tell us about them. Yeah, so I run my own charity hockey event. I have 6 former alumni split up to 2 teams, and it's going to be benefit Headstrong Cancer in Philadelphia and New Jersey. And so it's at Aston Ice Rink, and if anybody wants, it's March 22nd. The game's from 1 to 3, and there's tickets available. So if they want to go to my BRIANPROPP.com website, or my email is gaffa26@comcast.net. If anybody wants to email me and see what it costs, and then do that. And then also I have my 3rd Avenue River Winds Stroke Center of University of Pennsylvania golf charity, May 12th, a day after Mother's Day. That's my 3rd year doing that, so I'll probably have 28 foursomes and play your own ball, and where you take the best drive and play your own ball from there. It raised like $35,000 for the stroke center last year. I'm hoping to raise a little bit more next year.
Well, Brian, let's change things up a great deal right now and talk about sleeping and snoring. First-time subjects here on Philly Press Box Radio. Folks, fear not. Brian knew I was going to bring all this up, and we're going to get some help on the topic from another guest. She is the woman who has founded Cherry Hill Dental Excellence, whose last name I am not going to try to pronounce because I would definitely butcher it. I'm just going to call her Dr. A. So, yes. Hey, Doc, welcome, and tell us, what is your last name?
Afsharzand. Yeah, it's not too bad, but Dr. A is fine.
Good. I'm going to go with Dr. A to be safe.
Yes.
So, Doc, how did you connect with BRIAN PROPP, and what is this anti-snoring procedure that you were able to treat him with?
We met at a networking event, and we were talking about, we have this Photona laser is a very unique machine that we use in our office for a variety of procedures. But one of the indications of using this laser is to treat snoring and mild sleep apnea. And we were talking at the event, I think Brian's wife was talking about he snores a lot. So I told him, come to the office and we will try to see if we can help you. And Brian, you can tell us your experience.
Yeah, so I went every 3 weeks. So like the laser from the throat and the tongue. So it was only about 45 minutes every time. But I noticed a big difference after I did the 3 sessions. So I don't snore as much as I did. So like my wife, Eileen, loves that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you're happy with it. And more importantly, is your wife, Eileen, happy about it? And clearly she is. So that's great to hear. The procedure is called night lays. And as Brian said, it's 3 one-dose treatments targeting the soft palate, the tongue, and underneath the tongue. Dr. A, what is the success rate with this? It's
about 80 to 85%. There could be other factors involved with snoring and sleep apnea, but if you, as we talked about it, the tissue relaxes as we age. And for what happens with the laser, what it does, it has a wavelength and targets the tissue in the back of the throat and kind of tightens the tissue. And the reason we snore is because the tissue relaxes, and as we breathe, it vibrates. So what it does is tightens that tissue in the back of the throat and helps with not snoring. It also a little bit with apnea. It does. I have had success with patients that do use CPAP machine, and they were actually be able to adjust how much positive air they get from the CPAP machine just from using the laser and tightening the tissue in the back of their throat.
I should mention there was a real nice piece about you guys in South Jersey Magazine last fall. Very informative right there. So check that out. You can just look up BRIAN PROPP and Cherry Hill Dental, and you will find this. And that's where I got a lot of my background information. Let me ask, is this something that would typically be covered by insurance or not?
Unfortunately, not yet, but I'm hoping in the future they will cover, because it's very non-invasive. People go through a lot to try to prevent snoring and also apnea, such as using appliances to advance the lower jaw forward. And there have side effects associated with it, and not many people like the CPAP machine. So it's a very non-invasive way of treating the problem. And I'm hoping the insurance companies will recognize that and will help the patients pay for these procedures.
Dr. Ray, how can folks find out more about night lays and Cherry Hill Dental Excellence in general?
Yes, they can go to our website at cherryhilldentalexcellence.com. Also, our phone number, 856-428-2550. They can call the office and set up an appointment. We usually do a consultation appointment. We ask the patients that are interested to have a sleep study done, so we have a baseline of where we are with the sleep apnea and the degree, and it's only snoring, and we recommend the proper treatment at that point.
Brian, when exactly did you have this procedure last year?
Well, it was about a year and a half ago, and so but I'm due for the 6-month
Yes.
checkup again.
Yes, you need to come back. Yes, definitely.
In another month or two, I'll come back and visit you again. But yeah, it's pretty easy, and it just doesn't take too long. And actually, just so people know, it's not that really expensive. Like even if they have to pay out of their own pocket, because it's really affordable.
Awesome. Well, Dr. A, I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank
and
you
I'm going to
so
talk
much.
to Brian a minute or two more. But again, check out this woman and the procedure if you or your spouse has a little issue with sleeping and snoring at night.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Brian, let me ask you one more thing about the Flyers. The season is winding down. What do you do now over these, last couple of months of the season? Do you go all out and try to sneak into the playoffs, or do you just not worry about that yet and focus on next year?
I think what they're going to do is they're trying to build the team for the future. And so if we were in better shape, like at where we're standings are, we might look for another player. But I think that, we're right there. Like, this conference is really tight. Like, everybody has a chance to get into playoffs. If you get on a roll run, then it makes a big difference because it's only like 5 points between 5 to 8 and so like that. So but I think that the Flyers are going to do it the right way. They're going to take their time. They got a couple of young guys that are playing really well, and they're getting experience. And so they just build on that. And then if they get into playoffs, you never know, because you get a hot goalie, and then you have a chance to win a Stanley Cup.
Hey, Brian, you're going to be honored in another Hall of Fame very soon. You should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, for crying out loud. You're in the Flyers Hall of Fame, and now you're going into another hall in the near future. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so getting inducted into the Brandon Wheat Kings Hall of Fame March 12th. And so I'm excited for that, because it's only the second year that they've been doing it. All those years in Brandon, they just started it a couple of years ago, the Hall of Fame. So I'm very excited to be part of there.
And folks, don't forget to check out BRIAN Propp's book. He wrote it with Wayne Fish, Angel on My Wing. I can't wait to get a copy myself and read it, because I know it's going to be a fantastic story. It's been out about 3 months, and I got to get my hands on one of those. So, BRIAN Propp, thank you for joining us once again on Philly Press Box Radio. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Chet, that was really good. And, I always enjoy having Propper on it, because we got to meet him. Our first time I really met him, where I could speak with him, was when he really wasn't doing so good. And to see, as you mentioned, every year he keeps getting better and better and better. That's great. Yeah,
and he's just such a good guy, very likable, and great to see him getting better and better every year.
How about coming from a town of 300? How cool is that?
Yeah, that makes my town, which had like 5,000 people, look huge.
Right. Hey, you made a good point, and I've had this written down for a long time. I was shuffling through it when you started talking about it. He does belong in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Oh, he does.
For whatever reason, he has never even, I don't think, gotten consideration. But I looked him up, Chet. He's 99th all time in scoring today. And He's been gone for 30-some years. So so a lot of current guys have moved past him, but because the game's changed. 99, he's 99th with 1,004 points. And, we talk about Travis Konechny, he's got 62 points or something like that this year. Yeah. In 1983-84, BRIAN Propp had 92 points with a plus 47. And in next year, 84-85, he had 92 for the first year, 97 the second year with a plus 44. And 5 times over 39 goals. He was a heck of a player.
Absolutely. And as I said, still second all time in Flyers goal scoring and 4th all time in points. Just, terrific player, long career. Went to the finals 5 times, never won a cup.
Never won a cup. Yep. Good stuff. Great interview, too, by the way, as always.
Thank you.
All right. Tell us what's going on with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia, Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgates.
Well, Bill, Cavs Philly Tailgates has been cooking up a terrific catering business for some 35 years. You know them for their tailgate parties. Cavs is a 3-time winner of the Philly Tailgates Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs does corporate events, parties, also, you name it. Of course, Cavs host tailgates before all Eagles games outside the link, and there will be various tailgates outside Citizens Bank Park this spring and summer, including one before the home opener on March 31st. Plus, as usual, Cav will be teaming up with Philly Sports Trips for a pair of 5 or 6 day Philly spring training trips. There's the one pictured right there, March 11th to the 15th. WMMR's Preston and Steve crew, part of that one. And then there's a second trip right after that. That one, the 16th to the 21st of March, has special guests Larry Boa, Jason Worth, and Charlie Manuel. Wow. All the info at phillysportstrips.com on those Phillies trips. And check Cavs' website, phillytailgates.com, for other upcoming events closer to home. If you have questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. Hey, Bill.
Oh, that thing sounds dead. Does that mean we're going to talk about some award show?
There we go.
I hope it's not dead like these award shows you might want to talk about.
Well, Bill, I actually have a Random Chet segment this week that you might really enjoy. Okay. In fact, anyone in our age group who happens to be a music fan will hopefully like this one. And because it'll take us all back to our formative years. So watch and enjoy. Bill, take some notes, write down some of your favorites. You'll see what I mean. And then I will welcome your input right afterwards. So without further ado, a little Random Chet for you. I could be wrong, but I think it's a fact that most people would consider their particular favorite music era to be the one that aligned with their teenage years. Hey, guilty as charged. 1975, a whopping 50 years ago, was a real sweet spot for this rock music fan. I kind of hate to own up to this, but 1975 happened to be the year I graduated high school. I'm hearing talk of a 50-year reunion. Yikes. Anyway, getting back to the music of 1975, I admit I even liked that year's biggest hit singles, which were certainly not rock songs. Captain and Tennille's Love Will Keep Us Together was the #1 tune that year, followed by Glenn Campbell's Rhinestone Cowboy. I kid you not. Other big hits of 1975 included Elton John's Philadelphia Freedom, Frankie Valli's My Eyes Adored You, Neil Sedaka's Laughter in the Rain, Earth, Wind & Fire's Shining Star, and David Bowie's Fame. And Grand Funk's cover of Some Kind of Wonderful. Well, that was quite wonderful. All right, in terms of rock albums, though, that's what we're talking about here. 1975 brought solo debut LPs from the likes of Ian Hunter, Jeff Beck, and Ted Nugent. There were also debuts from the Outlaws, the Tubes, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow, Journey before Steve Perry came on board, Patti Smith, and a band that I'm still a big fan of, Angel. One of my all-time favorite bands, AC/DC, released its first 2 albums in Australia, but none in the U.S. until early 76, so I won't be talking about them in this piece. We got live albums in 1975 from artists including Blue Oyster Cult, Eric Clapton, Dr. John, Grand Funk, King Crimson, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Lou Reed, Stephen Stills. And half of ZZ Top's Fandango album was live. The year's biggest live album, though, was Kiss Alive. More on that later when I unveil my favorite 20 albums of 1975. I'll tell you first, there were a slew of pretty famous albums that did not crack my top 20, such as Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare, Steely Dan's Katy Lied, 10cc's the original soundtrack with the hit I'm Not in Love, Frampton with studio versions of Show Me the Way and Baby I Love Your Way a year before Peter came alive and became a global superstar. Black Sabbath's Sabotage, Kiss's Dressed to Kill, that was before the live album. Roxy Music's Siren, ELO's Face the Music. The Who by Numbers, Squeeze Box on that one. The Kinks' Soap Opera, and 2 legendary albums by Bob Dylan, Blood on the Tracks in January, and then in June with the band, The Basement Tapes, 2/3 of which was Dylan singing with Robbie Robertson's guys 8 years prior. There were also albums by the likes of the Allman Brothers, Bachman Turner Overdrive, Todd Rundgren, the Doobie Brothers, Bob Seger, Chicago, Hall & Oates, Jethro Tull, Kansas, Deep Purple, Little Feat, and Styx that didn't make my top 20. Okay, I'm going to put up a graphic of 10 albums that would be in my 11 through 20 slots of favorite albums of 1975, but in no particular order. Well, I actually listed them alphabetically by artist. A lot of real good ones here. Man, I played the crap out of Elton's Captain Fantastic and Rod Stewart's Atlantic Crossing. And those two Rush albums, the legendary debut album by Patti Smith was amazing. And I got to tell you, the first time I heard this album, In Trance by the Scorpions, I was blown away, especially by the title song and the opening track, Dark Lady. Check it out if you're not familiar with early Scorpion stuff. All right, without further ado, my top 10 personal favorite albums released in the year 1975. Number 10 is one that probably won't be on your list. It is the debut album by the glam rock band Angel. Yeah, led by Punky Meadows on guitar and vocalist Frank Domino. If you don't know it, check out the first three songs on here, Tower, Long Time, and Rock and Rollers. Fantastic. Number 9 is a double album of songs by the mighty Led Zeppelin, talking, of course, about physical graffiti with standout tracks like Kashmir, Custard Pie, and Trampled Underfoot. And I'll tell you, I didn't actually buy this album till a couple of years later. And as you may or may not be able to see, I paid $4.50 for it at a place called Arboria, a great used record store I frequented in State College during my years out at Penn State. At number 8 on my list, the self-titled album from Fleetwood Mac that was that band's 10th overall release, but first with Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. It went to number 1 on the Billboard album chart the following year and has sold some 9.5 million copies at last count, thanks to hits such as Rhiannon, Over My Head, Landslide, and Say You Love Me. It also happens to be the only album in my top 10 of 1975 that I never actually owned. Go figure. All right. In the number 7 spot, a live album that I mentioned earlier, Kiss Alive. Yeah, this fantastic double album stayed on the Billboard 200 album chart for more than 2 years. 6th, an album partly recorded in Philadelphia, the rest in New York City. It is David Bowie's Young Americans with that great title track, the hit Fame that John Lennon helped with, and several other great tunes. Okay, on to my top 5. This band just got nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the very first time. It is the second album from Bad Company, the underrated supergroup, and their album Straight Shooter. So good, with hits like Good Lovin' Gone Bad, Feel Like Making Love, and Shooting Star, and other awesome songs like Deal with the Preacher and Wildfire Woman. Number 4, then, Aerosmith's fantastic third album, Toys in the Attic, which made them huge stars thanks to the big hits Walk This Way and Sweet Emotions. So damn good. Third on my list is a true classic, and heck, I'm wearing a shirt of theirs today. It's Queen, and it's the album A Night at the Opera. We still hear the hits You're My Best Friend and, of course, Bohemian Rhapsody 50 years later for good reason. They are terrific songs, as are deeper cuts like Death on Two Legs and the Prophet Song, one of my personal favorites. Number 2, the album that turned Bruce Springsteen into the megastar that he remains today, talking, of course, about Born to Run, with that title song plus Thunder Road, Jungle Land, 10th Avenue Freeze Out. Heck, not a bad song on the album Born to Run. And folks, my absolute favorite album of 1975, drum roll please. It was released in September of 75 to mixed reviews, believe it or not. But it's considered a classic, and it is. It's Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here, another one that I didn't actually add to my collection until a couple of years later, and I paid $2.50 for this gem. I sometimes wish we were there back in the 1970s with those prices. Well, there you have it. 50 years later, reflections of some amazing rock and roll from 1975 that still provides us with a lot of listening pleasure today.
Man, what a list.
How about that, man? What a good year that was, 1975. So, Bill, I got to ask you, as I put up the list once again, there's my top 10 and, 12 other ones. Which would be your top 3 in no particular order?
I was making myself some notes as you went there.
Yeah, see?
Born to Run, certainly.
Yep.
And Fleetwood Mac are right up there at the top. Bad Company, I really liked. Queen, I really liked. I also like Bob Seger, and he didn't make your list. Grand Funk, I really liked as well. Did the Doobie Brothers not have an album about that?
They had an album, but it wasn't one of their huge ones in '75. The Doobie Brothers and Bob Seger both put out albums. The Seger album wasn't one of his major ones yet. It had one hit on it, but I forget which one.
It wasn't Night Moves time yet.
No, it's not Night Moves time just yet.
Okay, and how about Billy Joel? Not Billy Joel wasn't.
Apparently, no Billy Joel that year. No.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so those are a few of mine.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
And how about me? 50 years out of high school, Bill. How the hell did that happen?
Hey, Denny wants to see that nerd picture.
I made sure not to load that picture into the system because we are not posting that again. I kind of regret posting it the first time.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, great guest tonight at BRIAN PROPP and Dr. A. Who's coming to Philly Press Box Radio next?
Well, next week, Bill, we have we have our annual late winter visit from the great Dee Lynam, who we mentioned earlier. There's Dee. She is the 76ers reporter, of course. She's going to join us. But because the Sixers stink so badly, Bill, we're going to talk about much more than that dreadful franchise with Dee. You know, having listened to Dee quite often on 97.5, I can confirm that she can also very aptly talk about the Phillies and Eagles, too. So we're going to limit our talk about the 76ers as much as possible because it's just too damn painful. In addition to Dee, though, I'm going to have a short interview with this guy. His name is Anthony Wolf Liberto. He is the drummer for a Bad Company tribute band called Burning Sky that I've seen a couple of times. Interesting guy, and I will have a chat with him about the music biz and the current onslaught of tribute bands that old dudes like me frequently go out to see.
There you go. Hey, Chet, let's squeeze this in right quick. NFL Combine this week. Are you a crazed football fan that watches the Combine? A bunch of players are opting out.
Hell no. I couldn't care less. I got to be honest. I will wait for, let me see if I can find the NFL calendar. There it is. Yeah, I am going to wait for March 10th when the legal tampering period, a couple of days before bona fide free agency arrives. That's when things get really fun, really interesting. And we can find out, if Zach Bond and or Mekhi Becton will be re-signed by the Eagles and what happens with all the other numerous free agents out there. So, yeah, wake me up on March 10th. I don't really care about the Combine.
One comment that came out of the Combine, Howie Roseman said, we will look different. We will look different. Money is a thing. Younger players are going to have to play and play more, which means older players are going to be going away because we're going to pay other players more money. What do you make of that?
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. You try to read between the lines, and it means that not everybody's going to be back. We knew that. One or two of those key free agents will be back. Hopefully Zach Bond, and then maybe Mekhi Becton or Milton Williams, but certainly not Josh Sweat. And who knows if Brandon Graham's coming back? I'm kind of saying he will not.
No, he needs to move on. He's a two-time world champion. It's time to move on.
It's time. So, yeah, we'll talk more in March about the whole free agency thing.
One other thing I'm going to throw out football time, and we're running out of time, but I saved this clip, and I want everybody to think about this, and we'll talk about it next week. How's that?
All right.
I saw a list of the greatest teams of all time. Statistically, the 24 Philadelphia Eagles fit into this list somewhere. Here's the list, and there's about 7. I'd see. We'll talk about this next week and see if the Eagles fit. Top to bottom, 72 Dolphins, 85 Bears, 07 Patriots, 99 Rams by Coach Vermeil, the greatest show on turf, the 88 49ers, the 78 Steelers, the 92 Cowboys, and then a question mark. Let's chew on that.
That's way too much, but my head's going to explode. I don't know. But yeah,
maybe
2024 Eagles are pretty damn good.
Maybe we'll share that on our page and let people comment on where they think that Eagles fit into that. Statistically, offensively, and defensively, they fit.
Hell of a season. Hey, 2 more quick things, Bill. Congrats to LaSalle coach Fran Dunphy, Mr. Dunphy tonight coaching his 1,000th college game as we speak. I believe he's got 627 wins, 372 losses overall heading into tonight. I believe he was to be honored also tonight for that milestone, and he will be retiring at season's end. What a career Dunphy played at LaSalle on those great teams of the late 1960s, and then later coached at both Penn and Temple before moving on to LaSalle. What, no St. Joe's? No Nova? Come on, Fran, you slacker.
Mr.
And finally, congrats to the kids at Penn State, Bill. The fun. Yeah, look at this. The event held last weekend, 46 hours of dancing and fundraising, and look at that total, $17.7 million, yet another new record. That is amazing.
Every year, yeah, it's amazing. And they just keep raising that bar every year. Congrats to them. All right, ready to wrap her up? All right, let's take
hey, Bill, don't forget, Sunday, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Sunday, the Oscars, Academy Awards. I'll be watching.
Let's thank tonight's special guests, Brian Propp and Dr. A. Our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgate, PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim Chetchesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Wednesday, March the 5th at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook and on our Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel, as well as on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel, and listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans.
And let's hear from these guys.
Happy till we meet again.